Hola chicos, hi, it's Danny from Spanish with Danny. I was just sitting here and thinking about why and how learning Spanish changes your life. And I was also thinking, you guys know that I did a challenge at the end of last year in December where I took a 6-week comedy and public speaking course in Spanish, and my graduation from the course was to get up on stage and do a 5 to 10 minute set, comedy set in Spanish. And I actually wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more about that experience because I think that's the perfect example of how learning Spanish can change your life. I'm shy by nature. I'm shy by nature, and when I tell people this, often they don't believe me because I have a big contradiction in my personality, which is that I'm super shy by nature, but I am also super social. And so that means that you and I are probably friends, or you and I probably know one another because I came to you and said, hey, you look cool, let's be friends. Because that's how I make a lot of friends. I'm super, super curious about people and their stories. And so that feeling and passion within inside me forces me to overcome my shyness. But it's not easy because, like I said, I think I'm naturally quite shy. And you guys also probably know that when I started learning Spanish, I went through a lot of the same struggles that you guys did. Self-doubt, worried about my accent, worried about if the words were going to be correct, worrying about looking stupid. And so I often held myself back. I was in a class of university students who we all had an ego, and I was shy to raise my hand and participate. And I studied Spanish in university for 2.5 years. I really immersed myself in it. Besides all the classes that I was doing in school, on my free time, I was nonstop listening to Spanish movies, music, interviews, trying to talk to people, finding out about food, tutorials on how to do my hair in Spanish. I was really making Spanish a part of my daily life, which is another reason why I got so good so quickly. But after 2.5 years of studying Spanish, I did a 2-month solo trip in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And I was super worried about it, and I was worried about my ability to kind of keep up and understand and communicate in Spanish. And I realized when I got there that it was not the ability that was lacking, it was confidence. And once I saw that, that helped the confidence come, and all of a sudden I was really communicating quite easily. And multiple times I've been mistaken for whatever nationality of the country that I'm in. Multiple times I've been asked if I'm a native speaker. Multiple times people have been shocked that I am not Latina because of how I speak and how I communicate. And how did this happen? A lot of work, consistency, and getting over my own confidence problems, really. And so that's a big reason to why learning Spanish is such a life changer in general. It's not just about learning Spanish. It's about connecting with other people. It's about seeing another part of yourself. It's about taking on a huge challenge and showing yourself that you can do it. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. You know what I tell my students? The only difference between me and you is about 8 years of hard work. That's it. And not that you need 8 years to get anywhere. I was fluent after about 2.5 years. I'm constantly still working. I've been a teacher for over 4 years, and I still have a word wall on my desktop on my computer. I still watch Spanish TV shows with a notepad and write down words that I haven't heard before. You will constantly be learning, but you will enjoy it. And I wanted to talk specifically about this comedy challenge that I did because I always tell my students to make Spanish a part of your daily life. Which I very much did. I put my Facebook in Spanish. Like I said, I was cooking with recipes in Spanish. And if I didn't know what remolacha was, it's beets, I would have to go look it up and figure it out. I was doing hair tutorials in Spanish. Whatever I would normally do in my daily life, I all of a sudden made it in Spanish. Anybody in my life that spoke Spanish, I asked them to communicate with me in Spanish, so I was receiving emails and text messages. All that stuff really helped. I was going to Kensington Market and buying empanadas and talking to the guy in Spanish, and I would be nervous to do it, and I would just do it anyway. And sometimes I did a good job, and sometimes I didn't, but they all were amazing learning experiences, and now it's so much easier to ask for empanadas in Spanish. Anyways, why did I do the comedy challenge? So I actually went to this comedy night to sign a friend up because I thought that he would really like the course. He was a native Spanish speaker, and so I thought, okay, I'm going to take him out to this comedy night. I had met Estefan in a networking meeting, another thing that I kind of kicked my butt to go to because I was feeling kind of shy to go by myself. I went anyway, met a bunch of great people, had a great time. One of these people was Stefan, who runs this comedy course. And like I said, I took this friend of mine to the graduation, which was this comedy night. It was like the graduation of the students in their first level course. And I laughed so much and had so much fun, and I found myself there going, wow, those people are very courageous. Wow, they found their voice. Wow, they're expressing themselves. Like, these were people that, the only difference between them and me was a 6-week course. Sorry, a 6-week course. That's it. That was the only difference between them and me, and a bit of courage, right? And so I found myself so entertained. I had never in my life thought of doing comedy before. I come from a family where actually my mom was a stand-up comedian and an actress. And I come from a family of kind of like a lot of like artsy and you know, courageous people, luckily enough. And I never saw myself getting on stage to entertain, like through acting or speaking. Like, I'm a dancer, but you know, I don't really express myself so much with words on a stage. I do express myself with words. I always joke that I had to learn another language just to be able to talk to more people, and it's totally true. Gossip in more languages, that's totally true. So by the end of the course, I was like intrigued, and I was like, well, what if I did that? What if I got on stage, and what if I did a comedy routine, and what if I talked about myself in Spanish? I thought, what an amazing challenge for somebody who is too shy to raise their hand in class to answer, like, Sally went to the mall in Spanish, to get up on stage and do a 5 to 10 minute comedy set in Spanish with an entirely native speaker audience. And once I'm intrigued by an idea, I was intrigued by the idea, and then I thought, no, I can't do that. I wouldn't be able to do that. And then I thought, shit. If I just said, no, I wouldn't have the balls to do that, that's what showed me that I had to do it. I had to do it because if you accept a block for yourself, it becomes reality. And once I realized I had that block there, I said, I don't want to accept that for myself. I'm going to do this. And so I told Stefan that night that I wanted to enroll. I thought of my sister Paloma, who's an amazing coach on confidence, communication, and a bunch of other things. And she taught me, if you give yourself time to think, you're often giving yourself time just to convince yourself out of it. I really didn't want to do that. And so I wrote to Stefan that night, and I said, I said to him, I'm going to do it. I'm in. That whole night I was anxious, and I thought, oh my God, what excuse can I think of to be like, no, I'm not doing it. I am a busy person. So that was one of the excuses I thought of, but there were a million others. And then in the morning I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm not a comedy person. I don't have to be good at this. I'm like, if I suck at this, no one's going to care, and I'll know that I got on stage and I tried. So I signed up. I took things a step at a time. I ended up meeting such a nice group of people, learning a lot. I'm like now seeing new things through new eyes now that I know what they've taught me. And I, despite like a lot of personal challenges that I was going through at the time too, I prepped my set, and I felt like I gained a sense of confidence even in the process. And then I got on stage and I killed my 5 to 10 minute set. I went first out of the group. I was the only non-native Spanish speaker in the group. I went first. I did a good job. People laughed. I definitely saw room for improvement. But I was really proud of a good first shot. And I think another thing that I thought of was what a good example for my students, because I'm constantly asking you guys to step outside of your comfort zones. And so I wanted to show you, this is how I got where I got. I jumped. I jumped out of my comfort zone, and that's what I'm asking you guys to do as well. So I thought, what a great example. To sum up, do things that you think you can't do. Learning Spanish is a really great thing to do because it puts you in touch with some really gorgeous, gorgeous cultures. North Americans can learn a lot from Latin Americans, a lot. And I feel like my personality has changed very deeply, and my outlook on life has changed very deeply since being in close contact with Latin Americans. I've learned a lot of beautiful things from them, which I'm very grateful for. And it's given me a whole new sense of inner peace and a whole new way of taking on my life. And that's what I want for you guys as well. So do stuff that scares you, learn Spanish, and stay sexy. Ciao, chicos.